Hello guys, today we are going to talk about something really essential as a grammar point, which is passive voices, of course, as you can see. Well, by the way, is any of you familiar with the topic? Maybe some of you may have heard about it before. No? Okay, well, actually it doesn't matter because that's why we are here. We are here to learn about passive voice. So let's begin. First of all, we are in dire need of knowing about what does this passive voice mean. So, it's a grammatical form where the object of an action becomes the subject of the sentence. So, stop. I'll explain what I mean. There are two types of sentence verbs. First of all, that we know very well, active form, which is the main focus of the action in terms of meaning is mostly placed on the performer of the action. And the other form of sentence, which is the passive form, actually in this passive form, the main focus of the action in terms of meaning is primarily focused on the action of itself or the receiver of the action, which is the effect or influence of the action or the results of the action. I'll explain what I mean. So, let's continue. We can either omit the performer of the action, which we call the agent, or if we see the need for the mentioning about the performer, we can also mention about the performer of the action at the end of the sentence, often with the preposition by. So, the main functional point is the focus is on the action of itself, or the recipient of the action, rather than who is performing it. Well, now we are rather better to learn about why we are in need of using these passive voices. What are they used for? So the first thing is when we want to emphasize the action itself or the results of the action expressed in the sentence rather than the doer of it. For example, the bridge was completed in 2012. As you can see, the main focus is the bridge and its completion. So the main focus of the action in terms of meaning is not on the performer of the action, which is who built it. No. Other thing is we sometimes may not know about who the performer is, or we can see that it doesn't matter to emphasize about the performer of the action. For example, the letter was sent yesterday. As we can see, it doesn't matter who sent it. All matters is the letter and the state of its being sent, which is the action of the verb. Well, the another thing is politeness of formality. Imagine yourself you are in a boring uh, business meeting and you are in dire need of actually remain the boundaries of politeness and sound like formal. So when your colleague make a mistake and in these circumstances you may avoid to reveal his or her name. So you can indirectly say a mistake was made, which you use the passive voice. By using the passive voice in that situations, you may sound more formal and more polite in the eye of your colleague and maybe the manager, of course. So another purpose of is, we read academic texts, and when we read the academic texts, we can come across lots of passive voice sentences, just like this. The experiment was conducted in controlled conditions. I assure you, if we use the active form rather than passive form like this, we couldn't have sound more objective and more impersonal that reflects that our main focus is on facts and results as it's expected. So let's keep going on. So now let's dive into the structure now. As you know, the first structure is we all know very well the active form, which is the order of the sentence is subject, verb, and object. My cat chased the mouse at home. Yeah. And when we look at the passive format, the object we place the beginning of the sentence, then the auxiliary verb, which is usually be. According to the different sentences, it can vary, and we add the verb in the past participle version. And here's a question, quick question. When we look at the sentence, can any of you tell me where the main focus of the action in terms of meaning we placed on? Chop chop. Push your mind and tell me your immediate thoughts. Definitely right. You are keen. Actually, the main focus of the action in terms of meaning is obviously is the mouse, because you know the mouse is the only thing that receiver of the action, which is being chased by the cat, which is the performer of the action. So the mouse was affected from the verb of the act from the action of being chased. Yeah. Let's see more examples to reinforce. Now, the meal was cooked by the chief. Chop chop, tell me where we put the main focus of the action in terms of meaning to the which part of the sentence. Push your mind. Wow. Well done, well done. I admire you. Of course, our main focus is not the doer, is not the performer of the action, but the receiver of the action, which is the meal, because the meal is logically the only thing that can be affected from the action of being cooked by the performer of the chief, actually. So, I would like to remember that when you want to change an active sentence to a passive one, firstly, the object of the active sentence is taken and you placed to the beginning of it. So it becomes the subject of the passive form now. Then you're supposed to place the auxiliary be according to the various tenses. Then you add the verb in past participle form. And finally, if you see it's necessary, you can add the performer of the action by using the preposition of by. So an important point to remind that and highlight that, as we can see, the main point is that the primal focus is shifted from the performer of the action to the receiver of the action. Before we go further, in English, the passive voice can be used in various tenses, such as present continuous tense, simple past tense, past continuous tense, past perfect continuous, simple future, etc. Yet, the basic structure of passive forms remains the same always, which is subject, auxiliary be, and past participle, which means verb in third version. So, throughout our lesson, we will examine that how to form passive sentences in different tenses other than the simple present tense, because we used a lot during our lesson. So, why not? So, let's keep going on.